Hey, how's it going? This is Josh from Books by Josh, and this is episode 56 of the Books by Josh audio immersion. This episode is titled Hardest Part of Working for Yourself is You. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're self employed or you're doing a side hustle, you own your own business, and you really don't have anybody to answer to, excluding like a spouse, girlfriend, anything like that, boyfriend, your only boss is yourself. And that's the worst thing to have. And it's also the best thing to have because you're your own boss. You get to come in whenever. And there lies the problem. You get to come in whenever. You're not always going to show up, ready to work 100% of the time. And who's going to push you? No one. If you come to work hungover and you have a traditional boss or supervisor, they're going to get on you and tell you, doesn't matter that you're hungover, let's get to work. You should not drink as much or you should have taken the day off. But since you're here, you have to put in the work. And if you don't have that, you're going to be in bed, wake up with the hangover, and you're going to say, man, I'm my own boss. I could do this later. Oh, don't worry about it. Even if you have a traditional business and you have employees, you're like, oh, they can handle the store. I know a guy who used to go to a barber who owned his own shop, but the barber never opened on time. If the barber shop said 9 a.m., he'll walk in 11, sometimes noon. Sometimes he didn't open the entire day. And he lost a lot of customers, but as he aged, after a couple of years, he realized that, and he's fixed and he's actually there early every day. Because, like I said, he's his own boss. And when you're your own boss, you have to push yourself. But you won't have the same drive because you're lax. You're not going to be strict on yourself. Think about it. You let yourself do whatever because you want to have fun. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, they say. And you take that to heart and you tell yourself, oh man, I want to put out a new blog post. I'll do it tomorrow, and tomorrow ends up being the next day, and then eventually you haven't done a blog post in 9 days. Or you say, hey, I want to write a chapter in my book. And it's not easy to sit down. You can ask anybody. The hardest part of writing is actually sitting down to write because you have to push yourself to actually do it. And you can tell yourself, oh man, let me do this. But then the text comes in. Or you check Facebook, your email, something, and it takes your time. You have to do time management, but how do you time manage yourself efficiently? If you're listening for some great answer, I don't know. Because everybody's different. And time management can help. You could do things online where if you don't put out a YouTube video a week, you have to pay money because they track your a habit tracker. But say you don't care about spending a couple dollars, who's going to hold you accountable? And that's the whole thing. Accountability is big. If you have a business partner, that business partner holds you accountable. If you have a spouse, you can have the spouse hold you accountable, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever. But what if you're in it by yourself? Who's going to hold you accountable but yourself? And the only way that you hold yourself accountable is by getting sick and tired of not getting results. And I'm talking about you've been doing it for a couple years, you're losing money, bills are past due, stuff like that. It's like I was listening to Les Brown and he said he was talking to a guy who was making no sales, cold calling, this and that, and Les told him, all right, guess what? If you don't make your car payment, you're going to make some calls then when you had no choice, and that's the whole thing. The only way you're going to hold yourself accountable is if you hit rock bottom, where there's nothing else to do but make it happen. And one of the ways of doing that, or once you start doing that, you have to learn how to tell yourself no, which was the post I did yesterday on the blog, because you have to say no hanging out all the time, no to going to movies, no drinking, You could do it, but in moderation, but after you were productive, sort of like a reward system. Hey, I got 100 sales this month. Now for one night, I'm gonna spend $50 and hang out for an hour or two. You understand? Something like that. You can't say, "Oh man, I got one sale. I'm gonna hang out the rest of the month." No, you have to do it in moderation, and it has to work. Because if it doesn't, and you're just going back into the same old rut, you're gonna hate the results you're getting because you're not putting in the right work, and that's the main thing here. So first, you have to hold yourself accountable. Second, you have to tell yourself no. Third, you need a plan. Why do you need a plan? Because if you're working for yourself, you know how you can be. And if you don't plan things out or write them down or figure out what you need to get done, more than likely you probably won't get it done. How do I know this? It's like I'm in your head, right? It's because that's how I am. So you have to plan it. That's the next thing. You have to plan. That's why you have to tell yourself what needs to be done, how you need to do it, when it needs to be done by. And guess what? You have to treat it like a real job. Because if you treat it like a hobby, you're not going to get paid because it's a hobby, you understand? You have to treat it like a job so it can pay you like a job would. But Josh, I'm running a business here. Should I treat it like a business? How's that been treating you if you weren't treating it like you really should? If you didn't run a business before, never seen someone run a business, how do you know how to run a business? You run it as an employee with a different kind of mindset because you have to worry about costs and stuff like that. But that's the whole thing. You have to have that mindset. You have to shift your mindset into wanting to do the work and needing to do the work. Because if you need to do the work, but you don't want to do the work, guess what? You're not going to do the work. And it's as simple as that. And that's it for this episode of the Books by Josh Audio Immersion. Hopefully you guys learned something and just put it into play. What else can I say? Thank you for listening, and you'll catch me in the next one. See you guys.